So let's set the scene. It's early morning, not too early, but early enough that the house isn't quite awake yet. The kind of morning where you can still hear the quiet, the soft whir of the heater, the faint glow of Christmas lights reflecting off ornaments, the calm before what can only be described as a festive tornado. Melody gets up, expecting a pretty normal start to the day. Kids brushing teeth, some sleepy morning hugs, maybe a little breakfast chatter. But the moment she steps out, something's off. Sugar isn't up when she usually is. Malia is still in bed, which is suspicious, because Malia is normally the first one up and ready for the world. And then there's Grace, wide awake, talking fast, energy on level 200 like she's been up rehearsing a speech for the United Nations. Melody barely has time to blink before Grace launches into a monologue. While Melody is trying to decode all the words coming at her, the younger kids start bickering. They're arguing over something small, a toy, a seat, a blanket. Honestly, it doesn't even matter. They're kids. They'll argue over air if given the opportunity. Melody steps in, like the referee she didn't ask to be but somehow always is, claps her hands, and gives everyone the classic mom countdown. Everybody say sorry. 5, 4, 3. Boom. Instant apologies. The crisis is handled with expert-level mom diplomacy. But this is just the warm-up. Now this is where the real madness begins. Grace, who has been vibrating with nervous energy since she woke up, suddenly blurts out something that stops Melody in her tracks. She says the Christmas tree looks different. Not just different, but white. Melody freezes, because this is not just any Christmas tree, this is the custom pink tree that Melody spent time, money, patience, maybe even tears perfecting. This is the tree, her masterpiece, her work of holiday art. So she looks at Grace and says, "What do you mean the tree is white? That doesn't even make sense." But Grace is serious, dead serious, the kind of serious only a child who knows something outrageous has happened can be. Melody's eyebrows rise, the kids exchange looks, and then Grace drops the bomb that changes the whole morning. "Love the elf did it, Mommy. He put toilet paper on the tree." The silence that falls is thick. Melody's face says everything. Confusion, disbelief, irritation, shock, all rolled into one. Toilet paper on a pink Christmas tree. Not the green one, not a random corner of the house, the pink tree. The aesthetically curated, perfectly decorated, Instagram-worthy one. And when Melody hears this, she says, "Oh no, I know, you lion." She immediately switches from calm mom to detective mom, because in her mind, this is not a typical elf prank. This is vandalism disguised as holiday mischief. And y'all, Melody starts interrogating this elf like she's on a true crime show. She is not amused, she is not entertained, she is absolutely done. She starts walking around the tree, hands on hips, looking like she's about to hold a press conference. She turns to the kids, specifically Grace, because Grace is the spokesperson today, and says, "Explain this to me. What did the elf do and why?" Grace looks nervous, but also kind of excited because chaos is fun when you're 9. She repeats the story carefully, like she's reading an eyewitness report. The elf did it. He rolled toilet paper all over the tree. Melody's eyes widen. Love did what? At this point, she isn't even talking to the kids anymore. She's talking to the ceiling, to the Lord, to herself. Why would the elf do this? Why my tree? Why today? She even threatens to call Santa, like she's about to file an HR report against a coworker. The kids start backpedaling. They're like, "Mommy, don't be mad. That's what elves do." Melody is not buying it. Not this elf. This elf is going on punishment. And the kids gasp because they've never heard of an elf being punished. This is new territory. Grace suggests that the elf could be grounded by not flying that night. Melody crosses her arms and says, "Good, because he's not flying in my house, messing up my tree."
Now imagine, because this is too good not to picture, what would happen if the Love and Marriage Huntsville cast We're watching this entire situation unfold like a holiday sitcom. Kimmy would be calm, sipping her tea like, "Melody, you handled that well. The elf needed consequences." Marcel would be laughing way too hard, probably making comments like, "So y'all out here grounding elves now? This is premium entertainment." Maurice would start breaking down the situation logically, explaining how elf behavior reflects childhood imagination and family dynamics. Letitia would be quietly observing but giggling to herself because even she knows this storyline is gold. Charisse would be watching with that signature eyebrow raise, taking mental notes like she's collecting receipts. And Stormy and Courtney, they'd be doing that silent, shoulder-shaking laugh in the background, trying not to make it obvious they find the whole situation hilarious. If there was ever a moment the cast could collectively agree was pure holiday comedy, it's this one. So, after the initial shock, and after Melody gives the elf his official punishment, she regroups. She takes a deep breath, puts on her mom cape, and decides the tree has to be rescued. And who better to help than the very kids who watch the chaos unfold? Operation Save the Tree is officially underway. The kids gather around like they're about to perform serious, life-altering surgery. Courtney is giggling because toilet paper on a tree is peak comedy. Grace is defending the elf while still helping remove the toilet paper, insisting he didn't mean it. Malia is trying not to break anything because she's notorious for knocking ornaments loose. Sugar is moving slowly, still sleepy, pulling toilet paper one piece at a time like she's unraveling a mystery. It's adorable. It's messy. It's teamwork in the purest, most innocent form. And Melody? She's giving instructions like the commander of a holiday cleanup crew. Careful with the ornaments, don't pull too hard, watch the ribbon, put that back. No, not like that, like this. The kids tiptoe around the tree like it could sound an alarm. But slowly, inch by inch, strand by strand, the tree begins to regain its original pink glory. And this is where the chaos turns into something actually really beautiful. Because in the middle of the laughter, the confusion, the toilet paper cleanup, and the elf drama, Melody turns the moment into a lesson. She reminds the kids, gently, patiently, intentionally, that when someone works hard on something, whether it's a Christmas tree or anything else, it deserves respect. She teaches them about responsibility, teamwork, and understanding the impact of their actions, even if they blame an elf. She also reminds them to keep their joy no matter what. And honestly, that message hits. Because with everything Melody handles as a mom, as a woman with a busy life, as someone constantly juggling a million things, she still finds moments to laugh, to teach, to love, and to be grateful. She even pauses to thank God for her blessings, for her home, her children, the ability to provide beautiful holidays, and even for the chaos that gives her stories to tell. It becomes clear that this isn't just a funny moment. It's a memory. One of those unexpected, silly, imperfect memories that kids grow up talking about with huge smiles. In the end, the pink tree is saved, the decorations are back in place, the toilet paper has been banished, the elf has been put on supervised probation, the kids are laughing, the morning stress fades into a story everyone will retell for years. But right when Melody thinks the house is returning to normal, the kids start whispering to each other with mischief in their eyes. They're already planning what the elf might do next, and Melody overhears just enough to know she might be in for round 2 later this week. Let's just pray it doesn't involve glitter, flour, or permanent markers, because if toilet paper can cause this much drama, imagine what those things could do. And that, my friends, is the story of the elf that went too far and the mom who handled it like a queen. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and comment below. What's the worst holiday mess you've ever had to clean up? Trust me, if your elf hasn't toilet papered your Christmas tree, consider yourself blessed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.